Good evening, everyone. This is a call to order for the special meeting of the Board of Education on Wednesday, January 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at Aquaculture School. At this moment, we're going to open the floor for public comment. I'll read off the names, please. I do apologize if I announce them wrong. Please correct me once you come to the stand. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes. You will have an opportunity to finish up your last statement, which I believe is about 30 seconds, if I am correct. We ask that you please respect those that are speaking, give them the opportunity to share their thoughts. Also, too, we have a translator in the building. So for those of you that are speaking in Spanish or any speaking in Spanish, you have the option of having a translator for you as well. I'm not sure if she's over. Yeah, she's right there. She'll be able to translate. At this moment, I would like to do attendance. Mr. Lombard?
Yes. Bobby Brown,
Present.
Christine Baptiste Perez,
Present.
Sybil Allen.
Present.
What? That was Sybil?
No, I'm talking. No.
Okay, now Albert Benahan,
Present.
Akeisha Casimir, Erica Castillo, Michael Macaron, Joseph Sokolovic,
Present.
and Joseph Lombard present.
Thank you. So I'll begin to call the names. The first individual is Jessica Madikai. Machak, you have the floor.
Hi, good evening.
Just 1 second. Just want to make sure your mic is on. Should be red. IT's coming. Okay, there you go.
I have to push the button, sorry.
Yes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jessica Machaka, and my husband and I have a blended family that consists of 5 children. I have 1 child who currently attends Thomas Hooker School. However, my other 4 children attended since kindergarten and have since graduated. It was brought to our attention that the Board of Ed wants to bring the 7th and 8th grade students to attend Thomas Hooker School starting Monday, January 23rd from Wilbur Cross. This brought numerous concerns and questions to myself, other parents, and students. I would like to know, why can't the Wilbur Cross principal, along with the Board of Ed, make adjustments within the school to educate the kids? One of the reasons I ask this is because this happened at Thomas Hooker with one of my children. There was a short-term substitute teacher since the beginning of the school until the full-time teacher returned from an injury. I kept checking my child's backpack and lesson plans and didn't see any homework being given. After a couple of months passed and the teacher had not returned, I voiced my concern to the principal, who was also an interim principal. Therefore, the school and the classroom had no real direction. I contacted the Board of Ed and made a formal complaint. The very next morning, there were administrators at the school and were evaluating the class. They came up with a solution of having multiple teachers from Thomas Hooker help and teach a subject. The staff came together as one in order to help the students. The children weren't sent to another classroom or spread out amongst other schools. The prior administration came and observed, brainstormed with school staff, and executed a plan. Why can't this be done to the students at Wilbur Cross? I ask, how is this fair to students at both schools? Wilbur Cross students are getting denied a proper education and then be uprooted in the middle of the year. Where are the resources that are being denied to the students and staff? Is that
Your time is up. We'll let you finish up your last statement.
Okay, thank you. I am concerned Thomas Hooker teachers and staff, teachers are going to resign, and we're going to end up with 2 schools with staffing issues. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Our next individual is Elaine Russell. If I mispronounce your name, please let me know. The floor is yours.
Hello, my name is Elena Russell, and I am a student at Thomas Hooker School. We are here to discuss the moving of Wilbercross kids to Thomas Hooker's school. And this change is not fair to both parties. The kids from there have been suffering for either months or years and haven't had any teachers or support on their side. And now they're being dropped off to our school in the middle of the year. I just want to know why. Why now instead of before? And now that they're coming here, we probably won't have enough support or resources to support them in their needs or ours. And now that they're coming here, it'll probably be, it can be a positive or a negative for both groups of students and teachers, parents, everyone surrounding this matter. And the kids coming from there can feel like they're being judged or put down because of what was going on at their school. And now the students here can feel like it's not fair to them, not fair to anyone anywhere in this matter. And like I said before, if this was happening way before we even found out about this, like a week ago, then why now in the middle of the school year instead of the beginning of the year, even if you wanted this decision to be a thing? After the meeting we had previously at our school with the other parents, my view from how this was all happening is completely changed. For the parents, the kids, everyone. And it's not fair for our mental state, how we'll be able to deal with the kids, how the kids will fit in, because kids will be kids. They'll do how they see fit. They'll either get along, they won't. And it'll probably take a lot of time for this to adjust. And since this is still in discussion, I just hope that if we do get them, because it seems like it will happen, I just hope that we get the resources and things that we need in order to support these students in their needs, also along with ours.
Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Katie Smucker. Please correct me if I said your name wrong.
Smuckler, hi, thank you. I'm a teacher at Thomas Hooker. I've been there for 15 years, and I just came from the same meeting that we were talking about. The clear message to me was that no one believes that this transition has been planned out thoroughly enough. It is clearly being pushed forward too fast. Parents were notified very, very recently. In order to prepare for this merge, we need a lot more time to plan for it. We don't have our classroom set up for these new students. We don't have a plan for busing. We don't have the lockers set up. There's no class schedules. There's no class lists. These kids are coming Monday, and we want to open them, and we want to welcome them, and we want to make them feel like a part of our school. But that's impossible if we aren't able to prepare for their arrival. Our student population is about to increase by 25%. Our middle school classes are doubling in size, but we are not going to receive a full-time guidance counselor. We have a part-time one right now. We are not going to be receiving a full-time AP, a full-time nurse, another security guard. There's a lot of personnel that need to be put in place. Even if it's just in the beginning of the merge, we need to be able to help transition these students properly and responsibly. Currently, this plan is incomplete and frankly irresponsible. One other point I want to make has to do with the academics. Because of our current class sizes in middle school, which we're really lucky to have, we're able to provide tier 1 intervention and intensive specialized tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, which is provided by teachers. Once our population doubles, once the middle school population doubles, that will not be possible anymore. We will provide the tier 1 instruction but we don't have interventionists for the middle schoolers, so we won't be able to provide the tier 2 and tier 3 interventions, which the students are definitely going to need because there is a big academic learning gap because the cross kids unfortunately haven't had formal education in months, maybe even 2 years. So I think that the need for intervention is higher than ever. The last point I want to make is that we've spent years in this district talking about social and emotional well-being and its effect on students' learning. We've talked about wishing we could reduce class sizes to help improve tier 1 instruction. This plan goes against everything we know to be good for students. We agree wholeheartedly that Wilbur Cross students deserve a high quality education from highly qualified teachers. That's a no-brainer. But how are we going to be able to provide that when this transition is being moved forward so quickly? We need to fill the positions in our district. We need to retain teachers, and we do that by providing them the supports that they need. I feel like this merge, as is going to cause the same problems at Hooker as it has caused at Cross. Teachers are leaving because they're not supported. This is more than just a numbers game. It's about doing what's right for the well-being of all the students and teachers and staff involved. Thanks.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Our next speaker is Chris Burris. If I did pronounce your name wrong, please correct me.
Hello, my name is Chris Burris. I'm a social studies teacher at Hooker. It's my first year in the district, and coming into the district, and just finding out about this transition between two schools where every kid deserves the education and we are welcoming open arms. It's a little absurd from the Board of Ed downtown that we've known a week, maybe a week and a half at most, to prepare for the other students, for our students, to bridge that gap of where, at least for social studies, where their curriculum is to where I'm at, and trying to figure out how do I get everybody on the same page without backtracking and wasting time. And it's at a point where it's not that we don't want anybody there. We want everybody there. We want to be welcome. We are a family. It's when we're asking for support, asking for what we need in the classroom, what we need in the school, we're not getting it from, I'm not saying you guys, but from downtown or from the Board of Ed. As a first year teacher, to see this happening in a district where I come from, the inner city, I come from Bridgeport, it's a little absurd. It's sad. It's sad we're not getting what we need. As my coworker just said before, if we don't get the resources we need or the time to plan, we're going to be in the same predicament we're in a month down the road, 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road. There's no plan put in place. We were just told this is what's happening. Where's the communication? Where are you guys talking to us? Where are we as two schools communicating? We're hearing rumors, they're hearing rumors. Where do you guys bridge that as Board of Ed? Where do we bridge that as a district? As a new hire? Why would anybody want to come when there's no communication? That's what's missing here, and that's what nobody understands. You guys all talk about numbers and ratios. Enough. Look at them. Look at their students. When does that matter? When do we matter? You have no teachers because there's so much stress put on us. You guys, downtown makes 6 figures. You don't see what goes on the daily. You want to retain teachers, communicate with us, see what we need. I hear the timer. See what we need. Do what's right. I'm not saying don't bring them in. I'm saying give us both what we need. Do it.
Thank you so much for sharing. The next person is Conrad Savier. If I mispronounce your name, please correct me.
All right, my name is Conrad Savario. I am the PAC Vice President at Thomas Hooker School. I just have a few questions and concerns. I'm concerned, and I am a concerned and involved parent. It seems like the decision has already been made. So what is the detailed plan of action? And what is the plan of execution of said plan? How are you going to make sure that they transition well on both sides? What is the plan for that? There are so many variables and questions that are not being answered and or addressed, at least from my standpoint as a parent. How do you have a plan to merge these schools, but we as parents have no idea what's going on? My last question is, are these so-called numbers that you all base making these decisions on, what are those numbers and studies based on? I mean, in some ways, our school was already lacking in some form of support when it comes to, you know, the the temporary teachers or the you know, just different things, nurses. You've already heard it already earlier today. I mean, that's where it ends for me. I have all these questions, but I'm not getting any real answers. So that's it for me. I need answers. You know, you guys are coming up with plans, but there's no detailed plan of action. And if there's a plan of action, how are you going to execute said plan of action? We need to know, period.
Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Alexis Morseca. If I pronounced your last name wrong, please correct me.
I don't think she's here.
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you sign it? Yeah. Oh, you did. You don't have to.
Hello. Hi, I was signed up by a coworker. So I don't have anything prepared. I'm Alexis Maresca. I'm the part-time librarian at Thomas Hooker School, and I am here because I have fallen in love with all the kids. They're amazing. They're geniuses. I love working with them every day, and this whole situation just makes me very, very sad because as is at a neighborhood school, at a small school, these kids lack resources. They lack a guidance counselor. They lack a full-time nurse. They lack enough school supplies and materials. The teachers lack resources like paraprofessionals and more security guards. And, you know, teachers cannot continue to do the work that we do. You know, we can't teach, and we can't teach effectively unless we are supported. And right now, I know that my coworkers and that my students don't feel supported. They don't feel listened to or heard or important. And I would so love to welcome the Wilbur-Cross students and give them the education that they deserve, because at the end of the day, this is about education, and every single student deserves a solid education. But every single student also deserves a full-time guidance counselor and teachers who aren't so overwhelmed to the brim that they can't always show up and be their best every day, because it's hard. So I think everybody's made it quite clear that we are looking for support. We need more support. And if this plan is going to work and everyone is going to feel supported and students are going to succeed and thrive, because it's not just about numbers, it's about students actually succeeding, actually every day, we just need more help. And we need the funds for that.
Thank you so much for sharing. The next speaker we have is Lena Crespespo. I could be saying it wrong. Please correct me. I apologize if I said it wrong.
Okay. Hi, how are you? So I'm actually here today because of a personal situation. I'd say about right before the new year, my son was attacked and hospitalized by a kid that comes from the SOURCE program. Now the SOURCE program is attached to Wilbur-Cross. And so seeing that my son was hospitalized with a concussion from one of these students, I'm now concerned that even more of these students are coming to the school without more staffing and more security. You understand? Now, my son is concerned as well to go to school, and my son should be able to feel safe when he goes to school. But instead, he doesn't want to go to school anymore. Okay, you guys are just throwing this plan in mid-year, and you're not providing support. I feel like, in a sense, that you guys want these teachers to quit. Is that your goal? Because that's how I feel. I feel like you give up on these kids and you give up on your staff. They're already underpaid and overworked, and you're adding more of an issue to them. On top of that, the teachers over at Wilbur-Cross, they quit because they couldn't handle it. So you think that these teachers are going to take on what they already have and then take on even more? I just don't understand it.
Thank you for sharing. The next person is Maria Pereira.
Good evening. I live this. My daughter had 9 different math teachers in the 7th grade, which is why I ran for the school board. This is not about innocent children. It's about the adults making poor decisions or no decisions that these children and families rely on. This is not a plan. These parents got emailed on the 12th that this is happening on the 23rd. They're going to walk into school in 5 days, and the student population at Thomas Hooker School will have increased by 25% in 1 day. There will be more Wilbur Cross 7th and 8th grade students at Wilbur Cross than Hooker. It's over 100% increase in the middle school. There are 15 of these students, or 23% of them transferring in, who have IEPs. And the goal is to transfer in 1 special ed teacher, which is a joke for 15 IEPs. The school is 91% minority. This rumor that it's racism is appalling. The vast population of Thomas Hooker, there are 23 white students in the whole school. So I don't want to hear that baseless rhetoric. In addition, so what's going to happen is on Monday, teachers who have 14 students, who have teachers, 2 7th grade states are going to walk in Monday and have 14 more students. 14. Now, they're consummate professionals. They know that kids transfer in and out. They move into a neighborhood. They move out of their old school. They can deal with 1 or 2. Who in their right mind? And give me any public education data from a reliable source that says moving 14 students, doubling a class size 5 months into the school year, including 15 students with IEPs, is good for public education. You have a mandate under the Connecticut State Constitution to provide an adequate education for every student. How did you not know? How did administrators not know that Wilbur Cross only had 1 certified teacher for all 7th and 8th grade for 5 months? That's a reflection on the administration, and I don't mean Alicia Perrin, because it appears that she came into this, but you as a board are responsible for this too. And you're going to be held accountable for any decision you make. That's a promise.
Thank you for sharing. The next person is Ms. Joanne Kennedy. Okay. Just please share your name.
Good evening. I'm Lorraine Webster. I've taught at Wilbur Cross for 27 years as a full-time teacher, 3 years prior to that as a substitute, 30 years total. I understand this is a very challenging and difficult decision for everybody, and there's a lot of complex lack of resources. I have taught in a classroom for 2 years with over 30 children. I have taught a 5th, 6th grade class of 30 children, and yet my scores are rising. I have a colleague who stood upstairs teaching 36 children out of his social studies curriculum. He's asked to teach this and that. That is because, God as my witness, Wilbur Cross teachers work harder than any teacher I have ever met in any district, in any school, and we have been known as the red-headed stepchildren, and yet we keep plugging away. We have lack of resources. We have lack of support. I know it's challenging, and I do agree with every teacher in here that I do hold you all accountable, and you've known this for a year and a half, a year. Please give us the support we need. Please give them the support we need. We beg of you. Since there's so many teachers missing, there must be money somewhere. I totally agree with that. However, it is about the children, and I can't help but think that we are back in the Ruby Bridges ages, that it may not be racism, but it is a prejudice upon our children about where they live. They earn the right to be able to walk in, maybe not 7 children or 14 in a classroom, but 28. That is a state law. It's okay. So I'm hoping and praying this could be a great transition for the children, because I truly am in Bridgeport. I have been offered money elsewhere, but I stay where my heart and soul is. I believe in our children. I believe they can do it. They're all the same. They're Bridgeport children.
Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Ms. Gladys Walker Jones.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Congratulations, Chair, Vice Chair. I'm so pleased to see you guys here. The NAACP, we support democracy, dignity, and freedom. Members of the NAACP, in keeping with the charge of our founders, stand against all forms of injustice. The U.S. of America, built by us all, belongs to us all. The repayment of our labor is equity and justice for all. We will not tolerate contentious situations indicative of Jim Crow era. All of our children, our families are entitled to warm, clean, welcoming, safe schools with well-supported, highly qualified staff and leadership that is scholar-centered, and where, most importantly, everyone in a schoolhouse can thrive. The issue at hand has already been echoed, but it's a leadership issue. Leadership has simply failed our kids. Many educators who mirror our scholars' makeup have been pushed out. Some of you are asking, where are they? They've been pushed out. The district needs to take immediate action to fix this. And the first step may simply be to not only mark this day as a listening opportunity, but to really listen, to find out where are the teachers? What happened to them? Where are the resources? To listen to the scholars in the schools, to listen to the parents in the schools, those who are there and those who have left, and to make sure that there's no retaliation so that people can come and speak clearly, articulately, and honestly about the issues that exist in the schools. Fix this.
Thank you for sharing. Our next speaker is Ms. Samantha Cheatham.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samantha Cheatham. I'm the PAC president for River Cross. I'm a parent leader. And I wanted to say, when they speak numbers, if this transaction was happening at River Cross, we wouldn't be here tonight having these meetings, because them as teachers would have went in and did the action plan to make it right for Thomas Hookers to come there to have an education. They would have hustled, bustled, broke everything. I watched these teachers not have a lunch break because they're upstairs teaching the classroom. I watched them running from class to classroom. Teachers who's teaching 5th and 6th grade, some days got to go upstairs to teach a classroom that's not their grade level so that the kids can have an education. Not saying they are not complaining. There never once was a, oh, I can't do this. It's always has been them hustling to do what they had to do. I was not talking when nobody else was talking. Politely. So just to know that a video, I haven't had nobody touch on this yet. It was a video dropped of cross students. Indiscrimination to our students before they called the rally at Thomas Hooker by Maria Pereira, who is a councilwoman. She had put them down so bad that nobody else really got the picture to see who these kids really are. They was judged before anybody went out there to even get to know who they are. I feel like these kids deserve a chance. Racism or none of that, I'm not even gonna go there and bash nobody on none of that, because that's not my character. My character here today is to make sure that cross students have the chance and the education that they deserve, just like every other district in this school. Meaning, when we crunch in numbers, if these teachers, all teachers in the whole entire district is working with, besides Thomas Hooker School, have 25 to 29 kids in their classroom. No one's complaining. If you have 14 students, your contract that you sign is for them to do 25 to 29 students, not just because, oh no, I've been teaching this amount of kids for this long, so I deserve to teach this amount of kids for this long. No, that's not the way to go. You signed a contract to work for the city of Bridgeport, which these are city of Bridgeport kids. It should be no argument tonight about any of this that's going on. Let's find a way to make it welcoming for our kids to go into a school. They're already not welcome. How, as a parent, do you get your kid ready Monday morning to walk into school where they just sat somewhere and listen to a bunch of teachers who's supposed to teach them?
Yeah. No, you can finish your last part.
Repeat?
Not yet. For your second. Go ahead.
Oh, don't be messing me up. So how do they step into a school where they setting a in somewhere and listen to a bunch of people say what should and what shouldn't be done. Just like I said, a meeting like that should have been called with the board and the teachers if they felt like this is something that they want to do. These kids got to go face these teachers on Monday morning. You think that some of them ain't going to have a picture over these teachers that they heard standing in there? Oh, like basically they going to feel like they wasn't liked. It was enough said for the students to take it in as they're not liked.
Thank you, Ms. Cheatham.
They didn't stop.
Thank you, Ms. Cheatham. Again, I just want to reiterate that we keep a respectful conversation tonight. Our last speaker, just overall, this is not pointing at anyone, just a respectful conversation. Our next speaker is Raynetta Ford-Thames.
Good evening. My name is Raynetta Ford-Thames. I'm a teacher over at Cross. Get to put on many different hats. A philosophy that I have as an educator, and my favorite quote, and this is really my passion, is that the teacher is really to touch a life forever. That's why I came into this career. And I'm sure that's why many educators come into this career. And with that being said, that means that every student that's placed in front of me has a right to an education. Communication may have been broken down, but it's extremely disheartening that instead of rallying around the colleagues who have been stretched thin at Wilbercross, the colleagues who have shortened periods, the colleagues who have been teaching every period because they're trying to make sure these students get what they need, you have people who are just thinking within. There's a clear plan in place for the students coming over. There's teachers who are going to be half-time. There's teachers who's coming over to support. We're not just dumping. Let's take the time and be positive. When we come to school each school year, we have 2 weeks to get our room set up, to get our classes organized, and we make it happen with no complaints. Instead of negatively not being proactive, let's plan on getting these kids what they need. Equity is making sure that everyone gets access to what they need. The students of Cross need a fully staffed middle school where they can receive the skills they need to transition to high school and make it. Let's open our arms and teach our students that sit in front of us because it's the right thing to do.
Thank you for sharing. Board members, would you mind if we add one more individual to the, anyone disagree with adding one more speaker to public comment? Yep, okay, yes, just make sure you say your name.
Yeah, thank you. Madam Chair?
Yes.
There needs to be a formal motion. Wouldn't there need to be a formal motion to amend? We normally have 15 speakers. And if we're going to extend public comment for an additional speaker?
Well, it's the only thing is it's not 15. So our limit is 15, we're under 12.
I mean, we could still add the speaker. I don't.
Say it again.
Yeah, I suppose it's fine. I think we should still have a formal vote on it, just so it's clear.
Yep, that's fine. I would like to entertain a motion to add one more speaker to our public comment for this evening.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay. But she was the only one that approached. Okay.
If it is, that's fine.
Okay.
I just want to explain who I am first.
No.
Okay. All right. So
we gotta keep motion in order.
okay, in order to keep order, we're gonna respect the time frame that we have set in order. I apologize that you missed your opportunity to speak
fine.
and anyone else, just to keep order.
No, totally understand.
Okay.
Yeah, can I say who I am though?
We're just gonna, yes, we're gonna maintain order.
I was gonna be the ELA teacher at Hooker. I mean, at Thomas,
We not going
at
back.
Cross. I know.
No, it's okay. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna move forward. All right. Okay. We're gonna move forward. Our next agenda item, I'll wait. Our next agenda item will be discussion and presentation on the proposed plan of relocating Wilbercross 7th and 8th grade students to Thomas Hooker School. This will be provided by Ms. Perrin and her staff. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Perrin.
Good evening. Since coming into the office of interim superintendent, one of the first parents that I met was Ms. Cheetah from Wilbur Cross. During that time, we were at a parent roundtable, and she approached me regarding her concern for Wilbur Cross and the fact that there was only one certified teacher who was servicing the 7th and 8th grade students. At that time, I came back and I spoke with the executive director in charge of that, who confirmed that this was indeed the situation at Cross. I dug deeper into this and had conversations with human resources about the lack of certified staff at Cross. And it was discovered that during the 2021-22 school year, that there were only 2 certified teachers during that time servicing those 7th and 8th grade scholars, because one left early fall and one was transferred to another school in the district. For 2022 and 2023, they have 1 teacher who has been teaching all year. Other teachers on the Wilbur Cross staff have been providing supplemental instruction the best that they could, as well as the principal who has been serving and providing some ELA instruction for those scholars. So went into conversations and looking at specific vacancies across the district, teaching teachers who are certified to teach our 7 to 12 population, and looking at their current caseload. It was determined at that time that there was space available to be able to support the educational needs of the scholars at Cross at Thomas Hooker School, specifically as it related to our 7th and 8th grade population. What we determined was that at Hooker School, there were approximately students, 25 grade 7 students who were at Hooker, as well as 43 grade 8 students, with 5 certified teachers who could handle the population. According to our district contractual language, teachers can teach up to 29 scholars in grades 7 and 8. Wilbur Cross School, based upon their students, Wilbur Cross students also had a total of 28 grade 7 students and 37 grade 8 students at the time. So when we looked at the class load, it was determined that 7th and 8th grade classes at Hooker would be able to absorb these students, and class sizes still would remain within contractual limits, with classes ranging from 26 to 27 students per class. And also that one teacher at Hooker School would gain a homeroom class for grade 8 scholars. We then looked at the specialist schedules that are servicing Thomas Hooker, and we were able to look at their schedules with the help of Dr. Morgan to be able to schedule students accordingly without any additional support needed there. One of the things that we did take into consideration is the common planning period, which is mandated by teacher contract to be able to do so. And after conversations that we had with Ms. Cordova Spado, who's the principal of Wilbur Cross School, it was determined that she would be able to release one of her teachers to be able to meet that mandate as well. We looked at the special education population. There was additional 15 students who would be coming over to Hooker School that would receive specifically resource services and social work services. Those students within that demographic do not have any other related services that are listed on their IEPs currently. With that said, conversations were had with human resources in regards to hiring a certified special education teacher that could go to Hooker School to be able to service these scholars. It's been conversations with the director of social work, Mr. Young, as to whether we will need additional social work supports. What he has communicated thus far, it is his belief that the students will be able to be serviced with the existing social work staff that are at Hooker School. However, if the need does arrive for us to be able to make some changes in regards to that, we are equipped to do so. As we were thinking about the transition and moving over scholars from Cross to Hooker, we were thinking about identity. Identity is a big part of the students in the city of Bridgeport, and most people relate very well to their schools, and they want to maintain that type of pride. So how could we do that but still providing educational access for these scholars from Cross? So one of the things that we talked about doing is giving them some familiar faces in a new environment. So with that said, conversations were had in regards to Ms. Vidal, who is the assistant principal from Cross, going over to support those students 3 days a week. She primarily supervises grades 7 and 8 at Wilbur Cross. Also, there is a behavioral technician who works at Wilbercross, Mr. Manny, who's also will be reassigned for 2 days per week as well to provide supports and work with climate with all 7th and 8th grade scholars and teachers. We were working with Miss Lynn Stevens so that uniforms will be provided to cross families so that the transition will be easier for all scholars in that regard. And when we think about looking at identity specifically, we talked about how can we still let cross students know that they're welcome and they're always welcome home. So we talked about looking at that as far as academics is concerned. I said, and so we were creating a Saturday academy for those 7th and 8th grade scholars that cross to provide opportunities for additional academic support beginning as early as March of 2023. That would provide supports in at least ELA and math, and also some type of extracurricular activity. Ms. Cordova-Spado has asked specifically, well, students will be able to work in capacity as far as playing on basketball teams and identify as cross students working to participate in end of the year celebrations as well as graduation. Conversations have also been had with our nutrition center to find out whether we will be able to add additional food to make sure that students have the essentials to be there if this plan is moving forward. And the answer is yes for that as well. We Transport provided all of the updated information in regards to scheduling today as requested for these scholars so that they will have a bus route and people will be well informed with that. And that information was shared with Ms. Cordova-Spado as well. So that is available in regards to those inquiries.
At this moment, I will open up for discussion from board members to ask any questions concerning this plan. And any staff, Ms. Perrin did let me know that staff is available to answer questions as well. So I'll start with Ms. Kashmir. Would you like to share any thoughts or concerns concerning this?
Yeah, I just have one question. Is it possible to delay the transition just until we've had more conversation with the parents and with the teachers?
That would be up to the board to make that decision.
Thank you.
Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I will say this, and I feel very sorry, staff and teachers and everyone, that you have to go through about this. But I will say something for the record and everybody understand that this is not coming from us. We find out just now. This is coming from when the former superintendent Testani was here. I know Samantha, the PAC president, she came and she bring the information here to us. And he said with the former chairperson that he will fix the situation. He will immediately, take care of the situation. We got proof, we got email that he say that. We thought as a board member that the situation will be able to be done because we trust them, and that's the bad thing. When you trust somebody stuck you in the back. And I can say that because that's what he said and we had to prove. Now we trying to figure out and fix the situation, and I know we will. And that everybody said we want the best for the students. That's the priority right now. And I know the board now will support the staff because you staff, you're not alone. And I always say this, that you always are gonna have my support because I respect everything you guys do. You do an amazing job, and sometimes you risk your life. When we got the cover, you was there for our students. And I respect that. You know, I take out my hat for you. But I want you to understand that we're trying to figure it out and fix the problem. We're not here to argue with you. We're not here to not listen to you. We're here to listen to you. That's what the reason we was elected as a board member, because you, the community, elect us. Me as a board member, I'm here to listen to you, and I will do the best I can as the policy the way it is, the protocol the way it is, a good communication. I know with a great communication, we can have a good successful. But with drama, we're not going nowhere. And I'm telling you that right now. But I want the best for you guys. I know it's not easy. I respect that. But we're here to support you and help you. And we're going to try the best that you as staff have what you need and our students have the education the way it's supposed to be. Thank you. No more comments, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sokolovich.
Yes, I got quite a few things to say. Through here there, Mr. Benahan, we did just find out about this. But after finding out about this and seeing the social media posts, I'm really troubled by the reaction of the community especially with the video of our children at their most vulnerable, acting out because they're traumatized. If a adult teacher or a student shared a video of children fighting and made a montage making the school look bad, they would be suspended or fired. To have elected officials share our children, some who years older are looking for jobs right now, their employers may have seen their behavior and say, I don't want to hire this guy. How dare they? How dare the people come out? These are our children. They are suffering. They are vulnerable. They need our help. Bridgeport is one city. Our schools are severely underfunded. You think we would want to make a decision like this, given our resources? We have to. This conversation may play over and over and over again. Once we hit that fiscal cliff and all the money dries up, almost every school might be overcrowded because we're not going to be able to afford all our schools. This is not a problem that started today, not a problem that started yesterday. Now I'll get off my soapbox a minute and go to the questions at hand. I got a couple of questions about CROSS. Was CROSS part of the Commissioners Network?
Yes.
And what kind of supports did they provide?
So from my understanding that it began the year before last where they began with the Commissioners Network, but there was not a completion of that. So they're not currently part of the Commissioners Network. They have something called a school improvement grant as of right now. They began with the Commissioners Network to do a turnaround process. And I think that's where some of the issues came in with teachers and teachers vacancies. So during that umbrella, those teachers who were at CROSS were given the option to either stay and become part of the new process or that they could go out and to be other parts of the district. I think a great percentage of those teachers exited CROSS at that time. And since then, they have had difficulty being able to fill those vacancies.
Okay, and I forgot my next question. If you could circle back to me.
Will do. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lombard, I keep forgetting. Mr. Lombard is online. Mr. Lombard?
Thank you. Ms. Perrin, what type of thought is being given to assist with the transition? You talked about pride, school pride, and some of the people in public comment today. One of the students who was very eloquent and some of the teachers talked about being received. I'm just envisioning if the merger happens, whenever it happens, if it happens, the need for social emotional transition activities, things to pair together and learn about one another, the students. Is there some plan in place yet for that?
So one of the conversations that was had with Ms. Ramos, Dr. Morgan and I met with her specifically in regards to those pieces. And as we were looking at this transition plan, specifically at the beginning of a quarter, so it was almost like anew. So we talked about making sure that there was opportunities for students to be able to talk about expectations of each other in classrooms, be able to talk about how they want to feel in the learning environment, for teachers to be a part of that process. So almost like what you would do at the beginning of a school year when you're starting to get to know each other and build relationships, that will be some of the things that they'd be working with and using the sort of support staff as well as the climate specialists to help facilitate.
Okay, so it'll be things happening inside the classroom, basically, is that right?
Yes, it would be things that would be happening inside the classroom as well as with school administration as well.
I was just wondering if any thought would be given to something that's more large group as well. You know, some type of a spirit building, you know, community building in addition to the classroom. Just put that out there as a thought. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Christine Baptiste Perez.
I want to just start off with the mission statement for the Bridgeport Public Schools.
Ms. Perez, if you could just bring your mic closer.
You know what? Okay. Our mission statement is we model excellence and equity in education for every child at every level by focusing on quality instruction and providing efficient systems and structures in the schools to sustain a culture committed to success. And so when I was informed of this, there were two main questions. Is it legal and is it equitable? And from what I've heard, our teachers enter into a contract to teach at a maximum 29 kids. Currently at Hooker School, if you combine all of Hooker's 7th grade graders, that's only 25 children, so that's just one classroom. If you combine if you look at the 8th grade numbers at Hooker School, 43 children, so that's about 2 classrooms, still way below the threshold of 29 students. When we look at the students coming in from Wilbur Cross potentially, there's 28 7th graders, so that's one classroom. That's not even at maximum capacity. So you got one classroom at one school that's not even at maximum capacity. With another classroom from another school, I'm just breaking it down so I can also understand this as well. That's also not at maximum capacity, coming in because they've been overstrained by the resources in their school. And so we're looking for equity for those children because there's a dire issue. And I don't see, and I've gotten on the past superintendents back about what's going on. I didn't know I had a 2-minute limit regarding the situation at Cross. And I just heard someone in the audience say they are kids with issues. The children don't have issues. It's the system that's in place. And it's more than just the children. It's the family and it's the community. We are all Bridgeport. So I don't want to go there and hear that because I've heard negative comments regarding children from Wilbur Cross being project children. And I am from the projects of Brooklyn. I went to an Ivy League school. And I went to law school. So I don't want to hear any comments about the children being the issue. Gavel, please.
Order.
Now call order. This is not for the public discussion, but I will not tolerate any disrespect for any of my children in the Bridgeport public school system because they're all my children. They're all my responsibility. And information may have not been communicated in the past correctly to us. To the extent I understand, I'd be upset to find this out last minute, but I used to be a teacher and I had an overcrowded classroom. And I know what it is when you have to combine resources, but I'm not going to quit on my kids. And so when it's coming down to it, when I'm looking at the numbers and I understand it's more than just numbers, it makes sense because I don't see how you know what you sign up for. No one's coming to teach in Bridgeport schools to think it's going to be an easy ride. This is not an issue that's developed overnight. Ms. Brown, you need to share your story because this is not the first time this has happened in this district. But what we need to do is come together as a community and make sure this is as smooth and seamless as possible. My first question I'll start off with is this is just for the remainder of this school year, correct?
That is the plan, correct.
Okay, so we just got approximately, January is almost about to be done. February, March, April, May, June. And you're talking about all the breaks in between. You're talking about approximately 4 months with a school that seems to have capacity. All the core classes at Hooker School are staffed with certified teachers. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And when is the start of the next school semester?
January 23rd.
So this would come in so the students can start a full semester on time so it makes sense.
Yes.
And we're providing additional resources, even though if we hypothetically, there was a family that bought a large plot in the Upper East Side of Bridgeport, and they came in rolling deep. And there was an additional 30 kids coming in. Would that new family cause any strain to the Hooker schools? Look, they all had 7th graders. All the cousins got together and bought a house. And we had 30 new 7th graders come to Hooker School. Would that cause an issue?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So we have 30 new Bridgeport students that are currently, I'll hold the gavel.
Order. I ask again that we respect, as the board has respected all of the parents and community for speaking. I just ask that you provide that same respect for the board members as they share their thoughts as well. Please continue.
And so if we had in the middle of the school year a new family or multiple new families, I mean, we've experienced this with COVID. a huge shift in populations, people moving in and out of the district. A huge population moved into the Upper East Side for Hooker School. Hooker School has capacity to take 30 students for 7th grade.
Yes.
Hooker has capacity to take students for 8th grade. It seems to me
Again, I ask again that we remain respectful, quiet. Please, if you have to have separate conversations, please step to the side, outdoors, use your conversations there. We're all here to just have this conversation, so please allow her to finish.
Dr. Morgan, I got a question for you. Do you
Dr.
need a
Morgan, if you
microphone?
can come to the mic or to the table. Okay. Just press it.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Morgan.
Hi.
Are other teachers throughout our Bridgeport K through 8 schools, specifically for 7th, 8th grade, do they have about 14 kids on average per class?
Absolutely not that I know of, not for the 12 schools that I supervise. 27, 28. There's some schools where I can't have kids go to because the classes are full to capacity. Only know about the 12 schools I supervise.
Right.
No. The answer is no.
And as far as for resources with the size of Hooker School, is Hooker School in terms of like the amount of students per teacher, would you say it's equivalent to other schools in the district, or does that question make sense? No.
It makes sense. You're asking me if Hooker School, with the amount of students they have at 268, is that equivalent to other schools in the district? The answer is no. There is a K6 school that has almost 400 kids. Hooker is a K8 pre-K8 school. So if we compare apples to apples, pre-K8 schools, they are not 268. Blackham School has 1,000 kids. Winthrop School has 600 kids. Marin School has 785 kids. I can go on.
Please do.
All right, those are the schools I supervise. Claytor has almost 500 kids. Columbus schools has 475 kids. So there's no schools that have 268 kids pre-K8 that I supervise.
I'll just pretend I have a gravel. Oh, please, there's no talking while we have dialogue amongst the board and the executive. I think that helps paint the question with equity, especially for our teachers, because it sounds like in other buildings, they're working almost at the legal threshold at capacity. And so it would, when I'm just looking at the numbers, it seems like a good idea. I'm going to yield the floor right now to other questions from other board members.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan.
Mr. Ben, if you don't mind, I would like to just share my 2 cents, and then I'll come back to the board for further questions. During this and I will speak as board chair, when this particular item was brought to our attention, only time that we as board members, current board members, heard of this item was when Ms. Cheatham brought it to the board during the prior leadership. This is no throwing shade at any leadership, but when the board was made aware, we immediately talked to Ms. Perrin on what next steps needed to be made and what the board can do, because this is a board and a superintendent's this is a decision of the board and the superintendent. So for those of you that are saying, well, you guys had enough time, you knew, we found out when you found out. And we're trying to build some type of communication and some type of, I'm sorry.
That's not what he said. He mentioned Testani was already
But I'm saying.
No, but my thing is.
Hold on. Let me just explain. When I'm saying prior leadership, we, the board members today, under Ms. Perrin.
Today.
When I say today meaning this leadership.
So he's here, right? He knew.
That's not Testani.
He's a board member that knew about the issue that was happening at Cross.
What I'm saying is when Ms. Cheatham brought it to the board's attention, Mr. Testani and leadership at the time took, started investigating, brought back to us information that said that these issues were being addressed or were fixed. That is all that the board was privy to at the time. The board did not.
Where's the follow-up? That's what everyone is fighting about.
I understand. I understand. What I'm saying is, there's a lack of teachers across the district. There's a lack of resources across the district. We, the board, are responsible for trying to connect with the superintendent to provide conversation, resources. So it is across the district. It wasn't saying that we were dismissing Thomas Hooker, or any school. It takes time, and I understand. I understand your plight completely. What I'm saying is this process was brought to us now, and we are trying our best.
It's not.
I understand.
If you knew about it when Testani was here, Testani left at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
That's already an issue.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Public comment is open.
Yes.
We should not be engaging.
We just want to discuss it amongst the board. We will come with the decision and come with more information. So again, as I was saying, this particular item was brought to the board. The board is now trying our best to figure out what next steps we can take to support this item. For example, I am a product of Bridgeport Public Schools. I attended Dunbar and I attended McKinley before it was Jetty Tisdale. A process like this during my time in school actually took place. There wasn't a 7th and 8th grade class at, there wasn't a 7th, 8th grade teacher or space at McKinley at the time. They began to prepare space for us at Dunbar under the leadership of Mr. Hodge. I've seen this happen before. I have been there. No fault of the children. We weren't aware of it. But what I'm saying is what we can do as the board and what we can do as staff is do what we can. We're running out of time already. Every day that we sit here, all the moments that we're sitting here, this has been what? Ms. Perrin, if you can just tell us how long these students have been in this situation.
2 years. Yes.
Just for the record, I would like her to speak it into the record.
So if we look at the academic years plus coupled with the pandemic and the loss of learning there, it's approximately, specifically for our 8th graders, 3.5 years.
3.5 years. Ms. Perrin, can you also speak to the fact, is other areas in the districts either close or dealing with this same particular item? It's lack of teachers, classrooms, students not being properly prepared. Can you speak to that?
So specifically in this particular situation with Wilbur Cross, where there is only one certified teacher to teach 4th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, this is very unique because this is the only school that looks like this. There are other vacancies in the district where they may be missing 1 or 2 different content areas, but this is the longest one that I am aware of as far as longevity without having continual education.
Thank you, and I thank you for sharing. I believe, as not just the board chair, but as an individual that has nephews and nieces, I am not a parent, so I do not understand the level that you guys may be on, but I do understand as an aunt, as someone that has been in the district, this is an issue. And whether the board votes, and I do not control the board, whether the board votes to support this or the board chooses not to, at the end of the day, the children are at stake. They do not have the resources that they need. I went to the meeting previously, and I understood that there were resources and things that you all asked for. I believe that Ms. Perrin and her staff is going to do the best that she can to provide those resources. We've listed a few items. I think as we continue to build communication, this will give her an opportunity and her staff to be able to look at where we can provide those resources. Ms. Perrin, one more time, if you can you list the resources that are already being directed to Cross and will be also directed to Thomas Hooker?
So specifically for the class Hooker collaboration with the students, there will be an additional special education full-time teacher hired to help out with that special education load. There will be a specialist who will be providing a half day of preparatory periods to make sure that we have the common planning that we're specified to have in regards to that. We're looking at using the Cross assistant principal, Ms. Vidal, to be able to support specifically the 7th and 8th grade scholars as well as providing a voluntary Saturday academy specifically for 7th and 8th grade teachers. With Ms. Ramos, one of the things that we're talking with her about is what is it exactly that she needs as an administrator as she's walking in that door, and what type of supports that will be for her as well. So she is, in the mindset of having communication with us to be able to talk to us about what she needs as she welcomes these students, because right now she's not very sure.
And then I have another question concerning transportation. I understand that the students will be bused. If this plan goes through, the students will be bused. Is this a specific, are these students going to be bused with other students? What is the time that students approximately would have to get up in the morning? And then also too, how long is the ride between Wilbur Cross and Hooker School?
So according to the route, it's a bus route that specifically was designed for them. So it is their own bus route. 9394 is what they have titled it. And specifically, the earliest pickup is at 8:06 a.m. according to the demographics that we received from We Transport today, with the latest pickup at approximately 8:30 for pickup. And the ride is approximately 12 to 14 minutes.
Another question, Ms. Perrin. As the students are preparing for school, and we understand that school climate is very important, how are we dealing with the social emotional side of students as they are getting ready to transition? How do we also support Thomas Hooker students as they also begin to welcome these students as well?
So one of the conversations that we've had is with Ms. Reyes Roca in regards to looking at like Zello information, which is the portal that we're using for students to be able to do their planning and to be able to look at that data to see what students are reporting they're feeling. We know that this is a new situation that they'll be in, and we don't know what the comfort level will be for Cross students or Hooker students, but using that information to be able to inform us as to what we need to be able to support our guidance counselors as well as our social workers in as well. I have had conversations with both Mr. Young, for the Director of Social Work, as well as Ms. Reyes Roca, to be able to go into the schools, especially during the first couple of weeks, to see what's happening and see what other supports that we need.
Last question before I bring it back to the board. How are parents able to engage? I understand that both schools have PAC presidents concerning PAC issues. How are both schools able to communicate any of the issues that the parent is having for that specific child that may want, as a transition is happening? What is the lines of communication? Also, how does the board be able to support that?
So one of the things that they can do is definitely reach out directly to the administrators in the building to be able to share that concern, or they can reach out directly to the superintendent's offices, and we'll be working with Dr. Morgan, who oversees both schools, to be able to provide some supports there as well.
Thank you. Now I'll open it back up to the floor. This is still discussion. I'm gonna honor Mr. Benahan, and then I'll come back to you, Mr. Benahan.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. I have a question with Dr. Morgan. Dr. Morgan, how many students do we have at Hooker School, you said? And Cross School? Sorry?
301.
301. And I want to say this, and I'm going to repeat it, as I'm going to go back with the gentleman to say that when we find out the situation, we thought that the former superintendent, he fixed the problem. Because us as the 9 board member, we are his boss, and he's supposed to do the job he's supposed to be doing, but he never did it. Because the first thing he did, he's lying to us. That's the first mistake he did. Of course, us now, we're going to fix the problem. We're going to know the situation because we thought he fixed the problem, but he never did it. Because look at what he did, and he screwed the whole situation. Now we're going to try to fix the situation. Also, about the 2-pack, I'm very glad, Ms. Brown, you bring out the 2-pack. And I hope the 2-pack, please work together to welcome our students. Like you said, we don't want the student to be scared, and the parents either. We need to work together as a family, like, as they're supposed to be. And of course, and I always tell you, the PAC president, that I'm always here to support you. So anything you need to work on all the students, just please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Baptiste Perez.
As it took a second to kind of reflect on everything that's being said, I'm glad to a certain extent that there's going to be community building and identity keeping for Cross students, but it goes back to what I said. We're all Bridgeport. They're all Bridgeport students. Is there any thought into or maybe this is going to be on the building level, but what's going to be there to build unity amongst the students while they're there? Because literally, it goes back to that hypothetical, a family can just move over. They're going to go to that school and they can be staffed there. They're going to be placed there. But what are we going to, has there been any talks on the building level to build that sense that we are all Bridgeport, that this whole identity of like, oh, I'm from this, I get it, but at the same time, we're being underfunded by the city, the same city. We're being underfunded by the state, and we need to be united in this effort because more money for our teachers, which I want to fight and advocate for. I need this energy too at the state because we need more money. We've been cut. We got $15,000. We got $15,000 extra from on the state level for our operational budget. We got flat funded. We're all as a community. We see how inflation is working. We see the pinch with either when we're at the gas station or the grocery store. Everything's going up except for money for our schools so we can adequately staff it. It's not the best situation, but we need to be united towards an effort to get the money from the right places so we can avoid this. And so our teachers don't have to be put to the brink. And I appreciate all of you because it is not an easy field, but you don't do it unless you love the kids and have fun with it. And that's definitely the most memorable experience I have now that I get to see my former students. I'm Facebook friends with my former students. Like, they're adults. You see that impact. You see that community change. It is one of the most rewarding experiences. But I understand how that strain comes into effect. And at this particular time, I think with the resources being there, let's make this temporary and let's take this energy to the state. Let's get the money our students deserve so we don't have to fight internally. And then any kind of competition, we just leave it on, the field at games and sports. But I mean, for the time being, we need to bring that energy to the state level. We need to be bringing that to our city council so we can get more money from the mayor. And I'm sorry, it boils down to this, but this is a domino effect. When the wrong people are elected and don't advocate and don't provide the money and resources for your children, when it actually impacts your children and hard decisions like this come up, this is going to be the last time.
Again, please respect the board as they're sharing their thoughts. We've respected you all. We just want the same in return. Please continue.
It will be negativity that will bring us down as a city, and it'll be negativity that will bring us down and negatively impact our children. I want our children to succeed. I've seen children that look like me succeed. I'm hearing teachers from here succeed. We can, from here succeed. So it's not impossible. We just have to stick together. And in this time, I know it's a difficult decision. I'm not saying if I was a parent in this particular situation, I wouldn't be upset as well. But are we going to leave? How can you consciously sit and know that in the same city you live in, a group of children are not given the equity that is in the mission of this district?
Thank you. Please continue.
No, I'm done with the floor. I feel like a lot of the questions I've asked, I want to make sure, like I said, I asked in advance about the food. Children are going to have access to food with the transportation. Like, is it legal? Is it equitable? Can it be done? It sounds like it's legal. No, it is legal. It sounds like it's in the name of equity. And I appreciate all of our teachers who could choose to work in this district, because I heard what you said during public comment. And all our executive staff, because it takes true commitment to be here. And like I said, it's the history with the district. It's not going to be easy, but the fight is worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I go to, I didn't see him. Did you have his hand raised? No? Okay, so Mr. Sokolovic, and then we'll close discussion if there's no other discussion after that.
Yes, you mentioned, Ms. Barron, you mentioned that this will be just for the school year only.
As of right now, yes, this is what.
As of right now. Okay, what plans are in effect to rectify the situation at Cross so that it could return to the school next year?
So one of the things that we're definitely trying to do is still get people hired, even at this point, for those cross vacancies. Because if we're able to get people to come in, then we can actually do something that we've never done before, as far as looking at collaboration for them as new teachers to be able to go in and work and build the capacity with the Hooker teachers. So we're still trying to be able to do that, looking at other partnerships that we have with neighboring universities to see whether we're going to be able to draw more teachers to that as well. And there is some information in regards to some possible memorandum of agreements to be able to expand our endorsement pool as well that will be coming before the board.
And what's plan B if it doesn't work?
So what plan B is, so what we're looking at, and I don't want to speak about things prematurely, but looking at just those relationships. I've had some people reach out to me just as this has been in the news, who work for different organizations that we're going to be brainstorming with to find out how we can be able to partner to do that work, but I don't want to speak prematurely.
Thank you.
Are there any, Ms. Kashmir, would you like to add comment?
Yeah, just very quickly, the principal and the teachers at Thomas Hooker School, have their concerns been met? Have they been addressed? I just want to know if they have what they need. I mean, if this is going to go through on Monday, like, do they have everything that they need?
So what we've presented, I've had conversations with Ms. Ramos. She has not, she definitely looking for more resources, but it really would depending on what happens with the merger. But she hasn't asked for anything specific. She's looked at what we have and we have planned yet, and she understands those pieces, but she hasn't reached out directly to me. Dr. Morgan, has she mentioned anything else to you?
Thank you.
Last but not least, I'll ask Mr. Lombard, because I can't see you with my back turned. Do you have any other questions or concerns?
Yeah. Interim Superintendent Perrin, you mentioned the reasons why some of the staffing went down at Cross. But I'm just wondering, in those 3 years, when I would imagine that other middle school teachers were hired across the district during those 3 years, what were the things that have been pointed out that have kept people away? You know, and things that could be turned around so that next year we could separate back. You know, what are the things that need to be overcome, the obstacles for either resources or anything for those teachers to want to go back or go there?
Let's see, Ms. Altro Dixon, would you be able to speak to that?
Good evening. So information we did receive, a lot of it is lack of funds or salary. The transition of teachers from Cross, we had one, over the course of years, one teacher resigned, another teacher left shortly after the start of this year. A lot of the teachers have left for other districts. So as we indicated before, it's a lot of it is they go to districts that can offer them more money and more resources.
So are middle school teachers in Bridgeport paid differently depending upon the school building they're in?
No.
So that's what I'm wondering. Why is there not this problem to the same extent in other 7th and 8th grade settings? What's so unique?
I don't think you can say that it's not a problem amongst the other schools. Middle school grades are actually math and science for the middle school grades. It's a major shortage area. When we look at our vacancies, that is one of the biggest areas, math and science, at the middle school and high school levels. ELA, we had, we were seeking to fill positions. We did find a candidate that they wanted to hire, but due to this shift, we decided since they were not going to be needed at Cross if this shift goes through, we moved them to another school that had the vacancy.
Okay, and then I would just like to put my sentiments out there. I really feel that what was shared in public comment from people representing both schools was right on the money from both schools. The feelings are raw, they're fresh. We all have, it's been expressed that there's lack of funding, lack of resources across the district, and it's being, in this moment, felt acutely. And that's difficult. It's a bind. I think that, though that said, I think honestly, and I was even hearing this sentiment from people speaking from Thomas Hooker. At the end of the day, everyone recognizes that they're all Bridgeport students, so they want to be welcoming. Just people want to be prepared and equipped to do it. I don't think there's a huge pushback to the fact that class sizes will double, because they'll be doubling to something that's still lower than the threshold. I mean, it's a real concern. Fear is real. It's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But, but I have to say that I feel like everything that was expressed from everyone was heartfelt and logical and rational and really not contradictory of each other. Seems like this is probably going to move in this direction, but we'll see. We will have to vote on this. But if it does, I think that the heart that's in this room from people from both schools, if helped along the way, it could be the smoothest transition as possible for these kids. I said something related to what another board member said about unity between them, not just keeping the individual pride of your own territory, but unity between them. They may be from Cross, but they'll be Hooker students. So I think that's important, and that's why I mentioned earlier about some type of either pep rally or activities or what have you, soft skills, soft level things to help that. But so I say Godspeed with whatever we do, and I hope it really works out well for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone sharing in this particular item. At this moment, I believe I would like to entertain a motion to possible table our second agenda item. Is there a motion to do that? Or would somebody?
I can't hear.
I can't hear because.
Oh, sorry. At this moment, I would like to entertain a motion to table discuss the next agenda item. I'm sorry.
Can you say it, for the record, what was the?
So for the record, the item is discussion and possible action on relocating Wilbur-Cross 7th and 8th grade students to Thomas Hooker School for the remainder of the 22-23 school year.
Madam Chair, what would be the purpose for tabling?
The purpose would be tabling for language and also give board members an opportunity to discuss this, to take in what you guys have all shared tonight. We'll obviously post a meeting notice for you guys to actually hear whatever way the board does decide to go. But I do believe, along with Mr. Lombard's sentiments, that this is very important and this is what the board has not heard. And we respect what you guys are sharing tonight. So at this moment, as the chair, I leave it up to the board to be able to move on the next moment. So
Okay.
that was the purpose of it, Mr. Lombard.
Well, could I also just add to that? I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
Mr. Grant. So would it be tabled to a point where the potential transition date would still be the 23rd, or would it be tabled to a date where our decision would be after that? What would we be tabling it to?
Would you like to add to it?
Yeah,
Mrs.
just wondering if it will interfere with, would it be problematic to push the date back to a week and give us all time to digest this until the next regular board meeting and have a vote then? How problematic would that be?
Thoughts?
Here's a microphone.
about the trauma.
Okay. Order. I understand. Thank you for sharing. But again, this is a decision of the board. So to your question,
Oh, no, answer his question as appropriate.
you have an,
No, answer his question as procedurally appropriate.
Yeah, I
Go ahead.
just want to know if it would be problematic to push it back, or should we have a special meeting in the interim to continue with the day of the 23rd? Because I definitely can't make a decision this evening. I need a little time to digest.
In answering your question, I think it can be tabled for a determination later on this week. Give us time to digest it, but still enough time before the potential Monday deadline. I think logistically, as parents are preparing for the move, as it's been made public, schools are preparing for the move. To table it an extra week is, Cross has to figure out staffing again, and
So
the
we
marking
could do
period
a
starts
special.
Monday, and
Yeah.
I was slipping on a point.
so,
I have a question.
hold on.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Maybe a special meeting by, say, I guess Friday or so, because
Thoughts? All right, Mr. Lombard, so, I'll let you share your thoughts on that as well.
Actually, I was going to ask Ms. Perrin, I mean, what is the latest you need to get things in motion with WeTransport and everything else? If we made our decision on Friday, would that be too late?
Well, right now, WeTransport is planning for a date of Monday, which is the 23rd. So depending on what the decision would be, whether we move forward with the 23rd, if there was a decision to move back, but they're already planning for the 23rd.
Ms. Perrin, I know that, individual in the audience shared that the marking period starts on the 23rd. Can you just confirm that?
Yes, Q3 starts on the 23rd.
All right, so with that being said, I would like to entertain a motion.
I'd like to say one more thing.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, I think it's important, you mentioned language, and that's, we have to do things by the book. I don't think we're able to make this decision tonight. I think we have to.
Absolutely, you're correct. That is why that is why I mentioned language. There will have to be an update of language on this particular item in order for this item to move forward. And that item is not here on the agenda as to why we would not be able to move forward with this tonight. I do believe that if the board members are we are able to schedule a special meeting between now and Friday to make a decision, I believe that will be so.
Thank you.
All right. So again, I will open up the floor to entertain a motion to table in this item.
So move.
Moved by Mr. Benahan. Moved by Mr. Benahan. Second by Ms. Christine Baptiste Perez. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion carries. At this moment, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Everyone have a good night and thank you. Please be safe.
Oh, get me a nice gap.